Hello friends, welcome to Rise Eyes YouTube channel. Myself Dr. Brotati Oja. Today I will explain one editorial article from the Hindu newspaper. Let's see the topic. The topic is Measure for Measure. Court should not react defensively to every line of criticism. Very important. GS paper 2 mains polity. This article can also be, you can also utilize this article context in essay paper as well as in the ethics paper. This article is very important because this article covering various topics like freedom of speech and expressions, contempt of court, and also we are hearing recent times controversies with respect to NCERT textbook controversy as well as the recent Honorable Chief Justice of India, her speech controversy. So once we can expect one mains questions may appear from this topic. For this reason, also we have provided one model questions. Please attend the questions after going through this article and mention in our comment box. So one previous year PYQ has also been provided. It will help you to analyze how UPSC mains, how UPSC set the questions in UPSC mains examinations with respect to polity subjects or with respect to particular topic like freedom of speech and expressions. In 2014, one such questions has appeared, that is, what do you understand by the concept freedom of speech and expression? Does it cover hate speech also? Why do the films in India stand on a slight different plane from other forms of expression? Discuss 12.5 marks. You have to write within 200 words. And let's see the probable mains questions that we have provided, and we expect such kind of questions may appear in the mains examination 2026. Judicial dignity and democratic accountability must coexist in a constitutional democracy. Examine the challenges in balancing contempt powers with the freedom of speech in India, 15 marks, and you have to write within 250 words. So before initiating the article, we need to say that how to you will write answer in the mains examinations. For that, we have provided certain parameters, like for every article you need to add covered in this manner, like context. You should know that is why in the news. For this section also, you have to know the recent controversies that has been highlighted in the news topics, for example. And the third, that is the why the judiciary must remain open to public criticism. Fourth, the key challenges in balancing the contempt power and judicial accountability. Fifth, important Supreme Court judgments on the freedom of speech and expressions and contempt of court. Sixth, global best practices. Seventh, way forward. And lastly, we'll conclude with the short conclusions. So before initiating the article, I would like to say that in democracy, judiciary draws or the court draws legitimacy from the constitutional authority as well as from the public trust. And such public trust can only be sustained when the institutions like judiciary are open to public scrutiny. So what is happening in recent times? Let's see the context. The Indian judiciary is currently witnessing a critical debate on what? On whether the high courts are becoming increasingly defensive against the public and the academic scrutiny. Let's see the controversies then. So one such controversy is coming from the Honorable Chief Justice of India, harsh speech that he has used with respect, has described certain actors in the legal ecosystems and certain young lawyers as parasites and cockroaches that are engaging in the RTI based activism. While he later also said that the remarks were directed at persons while entering the professions with bogus degrees rather than critics of the judiciary, such language is becoming unbecoming of the Honorable Chief Justice of India. Next such controversy is the NCERT textbook controversy, where the Supreme Court focusing its manifest ire on the three academics involved in drafting the chapter, effectively excluding them from work on the public school curricula without prior hearing. It means here the court, Honorable Supreme Court, has acted as the aggrieved party as well as the arbiter, and which is against the principle of natural justice. What it says that no one can be the judge in their own causes, which means this is that the problem has been created because justice must not only be done but also must also be seen to be done by an unbiased arbiter. And then the next controversy, one such example we are seeing in the RTI, the condemn has been used, that is the Ali Khan Mahmooda matter. That is the gag case controversy, where the court, Honorable Court, granted him relief from the coercive action, but also at the same time imposed a gag order, that is a command to remain silent. That is, the court is also trying to control the public behavior. Fourth such example is the RTI regard with respect to the RTI Act. Here what happened, recently when a journalist with a law degree sought data on the complaints against the specific judges, Honorable Supreme Court Registry declined the existence of such informations. And then what happened, the journalist produced a law ministry disclosure to the contrary. Here the registry's legal representative dubbed the inquiry as the fishing and roving. So these are the cases, recent controversies we are seeing. Now we have to know why the judiciary must remain open to public criticism. We have to understand here the judges act as the public actors exercising the state power. According to recent, it has been quoted, public actors has been quoted, the judges has been acted as the public actors, has been quoted by the Honorable Chief Justice, former Honorable Chief Justice of India, C. Chandrachud sir, where he mentioned that judges as the public actors that has immense state powers, because their one decisions or the one orders affect the millions of the lives. Therefore, such decisions are open to public scrutiny as well as democratic accountability shall also be there. Next, right to information as the valid tool. Obviously, right to information has been evolved in 2005, and it is very important to know for us to know the legal pendencies, complaints against the judges or the administration system. Third, preventing a chilling effect on the dissent, because recently when the judiciary takes a discourse on using harsh languages outside the formal legal proceedings, then it is acting as an institutional condemnations, which is not proper actually, and it is against the due process. Therefore, therefore it is creating a chilling effect on you can say journalists, scholars, academic scholars, or the citizens also, to know, to questions also. And in democracy, no institutions is above questioning. Next, upholding judicial neutrality, that is, the court cannot behave as an aggrieved party at the same time as well as the arbiter at the same time. That is, no one is above above the questioning. Fifth is social audit and quality control. What is in democracy, criticism or the constructive criticism behaves as a social audit, and it helps to it prevents the judiciary to behave as an isolated ivory box. And the last is the freedom of speech is universal so long it is in its boundary. That is, in decency, you can, the freedom of speech, that is the Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A, can be utilized to show your dissatisfactions within your boundary. Now we have to know what are the challenges in balancing the contempt powers and judicial accountability. First is the conflict between the contempt law and freedom of speech. That is, we have to know that what is candid proper, we have to know what is fair criticism, and the definition is lacking. Second is lack of independent oversight mechanism. Therefore, external mechanism is absent. Therefore, we cannot understand. We have to know the complaints against the judges, and their independent oversight mechanism is absent. Third is regarding the digital misinformation crisis. Here, the court cannot utilize cannot utilize the other pathway like showing speeches, harsh speeches, that is for outside the formal legal proceedings. And fourth, that is the declining public trust. That is, we are having, we all know that we have the recent courts are having 5 crore pending cases are there. So in presence of such long pending cases, as well as we do not know proper data regarding the judicial pendency, as well as regarding the complaints against the judges, trust, we public are not able to trust the justice systems. Therefore, we also certain important Supreme Court judgments we should know regarding with respect to free speech and contempt. First one is the Ramesh Thapar versus State of Madras 1950. Here the court held that freedom of speech and the expression forms the very foundation of the democracy, and restriction on it must be narrowly defined. Second, M.S. Nambudripad versus T.N. Nambiar, 1970. Here the court clarified that fair and bona fide criticism made in public interest is protected under the free speech. And the third, that is with respect to the contempt of court, that is S. Mulgaonkar case 1978. Here the Justice Krishna Iyer introduced magnanimity rule, here, which means the courts to use contempt power sparingly and ignore the trivial criticism. At the same time, we need to understand global best practices, like for where we can learn lessons and we can utilize in our way forward sections also. That is one such global best practice that has been highlighted in the United Kingdom. That is in 2013, UK abolished the offense of scandalizing the court. UK here recognized the judicial credibility should depend on the quality of the judgments and conduct, not fear of prosecutions. Therefore, it leads to wider protections to the democratic criticism of the judges and the court. Let's see what about the US, that is saying follows the clear and present danger test in contempt matters. Here, the speech is punishable only when it creates an immediate threat to the administration of the justice. Therefore, it strongly protects the freedom of speech and criticism of the public institutions. So for this, we need to see an overall comprehensive way forward to overcome these challenges. Let's see such challenges. Reforming the Contempt of the Court Act 1971 to protect both the judicial dignity and the free speech. Second, making the judiciary more transparent through the stronger Right to Information Act disclosures, and it should be embraced both by the Honorable Supreme Courts and the High Courts also. 3. Creating an independent and credible mechanism to examine the complaint against the judges. 4th, ensuring greater judicial restraints in the oral observations and public remarks that we have recently seen. 5th, we need to uphold the natural justice by avoiding the role of both the aggrieved party and the adjudicator. And the 6th, that is the last, building public trust through transparency, accountability, and openness to the democratic scrutiny. So, here also, our former Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud sir, has said that the judges are the public actors, exercising the state powers, and the court should not react defensively to every line of criticism. That attitude has improved how the bar, the press, and the academy experience the courts. So, we are ending this article with a short conclusion, that is, the true measure of a great judiciary is not in its power to silence the criticism, but its willingness to engage it openly and fearlessly. For an institution that cannot bear scrutiny will eventually lose the public confidence that is its only true foundation. Therefore, by embracing the transparency and upholding the freedom of speech, the judiciary can ensure that it remains the ultimate custodian of the constitutions in the eyes of the people or the citizens. यहाँ पे आज वीडियो समाप्त कर रहा है. इसके बाद की वीडियो आ रहा है मेंस डीप एनालिसिस, एंड द नेक्स्ट वीडियो यू विल रिसीव ऑन prelims sections, that elaborate discussions, that is the prelims bite with previous questions, and model MCQ will also be provided. Please visit our ICIS website for today's articles. Thank you. All the best.